Good afternoon, student leaders. Good afternoon sa inyong lahat and welcome to another episode of Meet the Fam. Oh, wait lang. You're not mistaken. It is not a Friday. It is a very beautiful Monday afternoon. And welcome to a very special episode of Meet the Fam. We call it Meet the Fam Mondays featuring Ateneo Social Development. Mamaya, we will introduce you to a very special guest, very special speaker para pag-usapan mamaya kung ano ba ang mga plano ngayon ng ating administration. But we are saying also good morning and good evening sa lahat ng mga nanonood ng replays natin. Of course, we're live over at the ADMU Student Leaders 2020-2021 Facebook group, but you can also watch us whenever you want no, after this live stream. Kaya para sa mga nanonood ng replays, good morning and good evening din or good afternoon din sa inyo. A special shout out, a special welcome to our executive board members. Alam natin na for a certain time, ang members ng group na ito ay ang inyong mga organization presidents, ang inyong heads. But right now, welcome. Baka ito ang first viewing ninyo ng Meet the Fam. Of course, always hosted by the Office of Student Activities. So sana magustuhan ninyo ang episode natin this afternoon, and you can always rewatch our past episodes. We have already had 3 episodes. The most recent one being last Friday, wherein we talked about the newest OSA online portal that we will be launching. Or well, we have launched the beta launch, but we will be launching full soon. You can watch the past episodes at our OSA YouTube channel at bit.ly/AteneoOSA And please know also you can also help us out by answering our evaluation forms. Please go to OSA MTF portal.questionpro.com para makita namin no, how else we can improve our weekly program and our topics no for you student leaders para naman alam namin kung ano ba ang gusto ninyong malaman para alam namin kung ano ba ang kailangan ninyong matutunan now that we are trying to continue student activities in the time of this pandemic. Ayan. Ngayon, tingnan natin ano nga ba ang mga makikita ninyo, mapapanood ninyo this Monday afternoon. So, the show will be opened, of course, again by our Associate Dean for Student Formation, Dr. Leland de la Cruz. And he will be introducing our very special presenter, our very special guest for this afternoon, Ateneo's Vice President for Social Development, Sir Lino Rivera. And then again, we will be opening the floor to any questions, comments, suggestions about Sir Lino's presentation. And then afterwards, our afternoon will be closed by your Sanggunian President, Mr. JB Beharin. Ayan, at yan, makita ninyo na punong-puno ang ating afternoon, no, this very beautiful Monday. No? Para sa mga nag-abang ng LeadX kaninang umaga, no, nawala lang kami for a time, no? Ngayon lang. Pero next week, babalik ang LeadX again every Monday 9 a.m. on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Alright, wag na natin patagalin. I'd like to introduce to you once again to introduce our speaker for this afternoon. Please welcome our Associate Dean for Student Formation. Let's all welcome Dr. Leland de la Cruz. Sir Leland?
Gandang hapon, Neil. Gandang hapon sa OSA at sa lahat ng nanonood ng live stream na to ng OSA. I'd like to welcome you to our session, our special session this afternoon, where we'll be giving you some ideas or sharing with you some ideas on how organizations can respond in this age of COVID-19. I know that we're somewhat at a loss because the circumstances are very different. We won't have any on-site activities, at least for the first semester. And maybe a lot of you are wondering, so what kind of activities can we do now that we have this kind of circumstance? And we were in a conversation with our guest speaker regarding the activities recently. And we thought it might be a good idea to share some of these initiatives to the student organizations, because I think that student organizations can be involved in a very real way, and can contribute a lot to existing initiatives to address the problems created by COVID-19. Right. So our next guest is a one of our vice presidents, the vice president for social development, si Mr. Lino Rivera. And si Lino actually is not a stranger to Ateneo, aside from graduating from our high school. He taught at the Ateneo Graduate School of Business. He was my high school counselor, right? And si Lino's latest incarnations were as a DepEd Undersecretary, and also as head of the Aquino Foundation. He also has extensive experience in the private sector. And si Lino is very well connected with a lot of people outside because of his networks, because of his work in government. And he'll be sharing with us some initiatives on the part of Ateneo to link up with local governments and also private sector initiatives outside. And hopefully, this will give you some idea of how organizations can connect with the various networks outside the Ateneo. All right, so without further ado, I'd like to once more introduce the Vice President of the Ateneo for Social Development, Mr. Lino Rivera. Lino?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Leland, for that introduction. Good afternoon, Neil. Thank you for this opportunity. As Leland said, no, we were discussing about how to get uh, Ateneo further involved in efforts to help during this time. And Leland suggested, why not talk to the orgs? No, I think that's a step in the right direction because you guys have always been active and it has always been played a significant role in social development. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, OSA, for this opportunity to communicate with our organizations. So I will proceed to my presentation. So first, just a quick briefing on social development here in Ateneo. Next slide, please. So the office of the Vice President for Social Development leads the advancement of the university's social development agenda to continuously consolidate and strengthen its social impact as a university. I took over from Attorney Jimmy Ofilenia last October, and as part of my talks and briefing with various people in the university, it seems that what everyone is looking for is more impact or results insofar as our different involvements in our different communities and in our country as a whole is concerned. So, top of mind right now, based on those, is how do we really help no society, especially at this time. Next slide, please. What are we confronted with? No, we have, of course, number one, the COVID-19 pandemic and all of its consequences. No, there's worsening poverty, there's unemployment, which is really worsened because of this pandemic, hunger, as you know, and then of course climate change, and there are some perceptions that democracy is also threatened. Next slide, please. The office's main goal is to make a difference in the communities we are helping and to have impact. No, as I said. Next slide. So our proposed strategy is for us to come together, share information, share resources, coordinate efforts, so that we can act more cohesively We have a lot of units, a lot of orgs. We have a lot of efforts here in Ateneo, but most of them are independent from one another. So, in terms of impact, in terms of resources, those are not maximized. The other strategy, of course, is to link what we have in the university to what is needed outside by agencies, LGUs, communities. No? Right now, we are um, actually in contact with the local governments of Quezon City, Marikina, and Pasig, and we're trying to help them in various ways. Um, so we also want to be more deliberate and strategic in this coordination, and we want to uh, be more conscious about delivering results, no, to actually help these communities that we are with. Next slide, please. So, in the long term, what we want to see happen is to have a network of organizations and community partners and groups organized both geographically and sectorally to help in nation building. So, for example, all of those helping Quezon City can come together and see how coordination across different organizations can help the residents of Quezon City, for example. Or though all of those working sectorally means like all of those working in, for example, education can come together and strategize together. All those working in health can do the same. Okay? And we will connect the different efforts to the goals of the different agencies working in that area. So, for those working in education, for example, um, if you're working to reduce the dropout rate of students in Marikina, um, we tie that up with the targets of the Marikina DepEd division so that we know how we are concretely contributing to the attainment of those targets. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So, like I said, right now we've we are in partnership with Marikina with Mayor Marcy Teodoro, Quezon City with Mayor Joy Belmonte, and with Pasig with Mayor Vico Soto. However, of the three, we are right now doing a lot of activities with Marikina and Quezon City. For Pasig, it is the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health that is really active there, although we are starting to engage DepEd Pasig. Next slide, please. So these are just, sige, next slide. These are just examples, no, of what we can do, no. So, for example, for education, sa education, this is actually things that we are already doing. We're tapping various departments in Ateneo and units and faculty members to help in these areas. No, development of materials, teachers training, uh, avenues for monitoring student learning, availability of resources for students' access to social support systems, etc. No, as you know, um, the public schools will be resuming classes on August 24, and they are hard pressed to provide education given these conditions. No? And their strategies vary from division to division. Some will depend on online uh, uh, modalities, others will depend on uh, modular modalities or distributing packets of lessons that are physically distributed to students and they have to bring it back. I think Ateneo can do a lot here in this area, because even when the packets are given to students, they need to be followed up. They need to be uh, monitored. Okay? And the students would need tutoring as well. There are some efforts of DepEd to provide that, but they can only do so much kasi ang student to teacher ratio is really it's not so good, no. So the teachers would be hard pressed to follow up their students. So I think Ateneo and our students can do a lot to help in this area. Another area where we can help, next slide please, is health. Okay. um, Through the dream team we have been getting donations and distributing PPEs. We've also been providing meals for frontliners and helping our health sector do communications campaigns about COVID and safety measures, etc. Uh, the sense is, at least for Metro Manila, the supply of PPEs is better than when we started, but there are still some areas that would need it most. If you're reading the news online, you would know that Cebu is in dire need of help. No, Cebu and Central Visayas would still need help in this area. Next slide, please. For governance, most of these LGUs would need help, um, like in areas like systematic data collection, data analysis, data management, and then coordinating relief efforts, making making the different areas in their localities more self-reliant. Okay, we're afraid that a second wave might occur, and the LGUs have to be better prepared. I cannot emphasize this enough because if you will see how the government has responded, there is a lot of reliance on LGUs, and LGUs, especially at the start of the lockdown, do not have the enough resources to respond adequately to the needs of their constituents. That's why private sector, all of us have to step up and help. Next slide. Connected very much to that would be food supply. How do we assure that, especially the poorer communities, have access to food? Okay, during the early part of this pandemic, during the lockdown, together with Simbahan Lingkod ng Bayan and Tanging Yaman Foundation, we have endeavored to provide food to a lot of communities. But as the pandemic goes on, uh, we cannot sustain the food donation drive. We have to help these communities become more self-reliant when it comes to food supply. Right now, we have another effort with some people from business, but it's just starting out. We're going to look at food supplies, but on a local level, we would need help with regards to this. Next slide. For transportation, as you know, transportation is still a problem. So efforts with regards to making transportation more uh, accessible to the public, while maintaining safety standards, would be a big help. Next slide. Livelihood is a big area of concern. How do we shift? How do we help, especially the small businessman, the entrepreneur, or even the employee who doesn't have work anymore? How do we help them have sustained sources of income during the pandemic? Okay, you have some efforts already outside. helping jeepney drivers, helping um, small market vendors to to transfer their business online. But we have to do more of those. We have to do more of those. Okay. Next slide, please. So we are saying that all of us have a role to play, especially at this time. Now is the perfect opportunity to work together to support our communities with interventions that are both relevant and meaningful. What we presented are just examples of how we all can help. No? There might be others. Of course, not included in the slide is our efforts for to help with the mental health, which takes a toll in all of us during this pandemic. Okay, next slide. So, what next steps? If you agree to come together, what are the next steps that we suggest we take? One is reach agreement on tighter university-wide coordination and sharing of strategies. Then create an inventory of various social development efforts of the university. For student orgs, OSA already has one before, but we were told it needs to be updated. Create mechanisms for working together. So how do we work together? This means organizing ourselves into networks that can easily collaborate with one another. And then create a communication plan to promote this campaign. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, that's it. Thank you. So we're now opening the floor for your comments and questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Sir Lino, for presenting to us different opportunities wherein our organizations can come together and work on improving the lives of our contact LGUs. I'm sure may mga gustong itanong pa ang ating student leaders precisely because I know that most of them are actually looking for this type of opportunity, sir. Kaya for our student leaders, our EB members in the Facebook group, if you have questions for Sir Lino, you may comment on you may write your comments on the comment section below, so we can address the questions to Sir Lino. Marami sir, no, marami pala tayong opportunities na pwedeng magawa. And ito nga sir, first question is, what are good measures to ensure the sustainability of the efforts for student orgs and avoid volunteer burnout, sir?
Uh, I was told that there was such an effort several years ago, and for a few years, I think 1 or 2 years, it was successful. So it can be done. I think from at least from the story told to me by this individual, who was at the time one of the officers of one of the orgs, she said that in the handovers of the officers of the different orgs on the second or third year, I think that the handover, there was something in the handover. Baka nag-suffer yung orientation o yung briefing to the new officers. So after a while, hindi na tuloy itong strategy na to. So this is nothing new to Ateneo, it seems, no, to the org, because it was successfully done several years ago. And then yung sa volunteer fatigue, I think that that's a concern for all of us, even for myself. I think we all have to be more self-aware of our bodies and how we are. And while we can stretch ourselves, we also cannot overstretch ourselves to the point of burnout. So I think it's also a good opportunity for us to practice self-awareness, self-care, uh, and knowing what we have and what we can offer. Uh, it's a good opportunity for our own formation as well while we help others.
Alright, sir. Thank you, sir. Oo nga, problema rin ng marami 'yan in our organizations, no, yung nakakaramdam ng pagod dahil sa pagvo-volunteer sa iba't ibang mga opportunities nga, sir, no. Although ano no, meron din, sir, na organizations that dwell on tutoring, as mentioned earlier by Sir Ilan, no. Sir Lino used to be with the DepEd. And Sir Lino, meron ba kayong parang uh, parang special place para sa education as a sector?
Oo, lalo na sa public school kasi sa totoo lang, so I was teaching in Ateneo for so many years before I joined government. In fact, I just took a leave from Ateneo precisely because I was asked to join government. So I was DepEd Undersecretary under the great Lasallian brother Armin Luistro. Our joke was, of course, we have a running joke about Ateneo and Lasal. When people tell me your boss is a Lasallian, I have two replies. One, his boss, Noy Noy Aquino, is an Atenean, and second, the Lasal brother needs Ateneans to make this work. uh, no, but brother, hats off to brother Armina. He was a very good leader. Um, yes, I saw for the first time. I was doing tutoring for public schools before joining DepEd. But when I joined DepEd, I saw the magnitude of of the need for to help our public school system. Grabe, grabe. More so now because they're going to resume classes without the benefit of actual face-to-face interaction. So, kung dito tayo sa Ateneo, we are having a massive effort to what you call this, to transfer our learning community online. Uh, sa public school, mas mahirap yon. In fact, many of them cannot do online or can only partially do online. So the need is very great. And given where we are, I think public education, is an area where we can readily help. Okay, we can, like I said, we can follow up students online. We can donate whatever um, smartphones we're not using anymore. Uh, but I think with some skills that we have, how to communicate better online, yung mga ganyan, we can, the public school system need those. And like I said, we're already currently helping the three divisions of Pasig, Marikina, and Quezon City. But there's still room for people to help.
Alright, thank you, sir. Opo nga, marami nga pong uh, opportunities pa. Uh, Kumbaga, kahit na we're limited currently by our situation, by the health crisis, no, marami pa rin namang different opportunities and different avenues uh, that we can go to para naman makatulong pa rin ang ating organizations sa kanilang mga communities o partner communities for uh, a long time. I'm wondering if our associate team for student information, Dr. Lilan de la Cruz, can also has ideas, sir, about how orgs can extend their services to partners outside.
Yeah, just following up on what Lino said earlier, I think a lot of the organizations have existing communities in Marikina and Quezon City. Maybe those who do tutoring on a regular basis can continue to do tutoring, pero baka online na yung modality. What's important is to figure out how DepEd in those particular places plan to deliver education. So I think Lino, what's the modalities of the different cities?
Sa ano, Okay. So, well, thank you, Nilanda, for stressing that point. First of all, if you're already doing something in these communities, we're not
Mm.
asking you to change what you're doing. In fact, what we're asking is just continue what you're doing, and then maybe connect them to others, and also to the goals of the agencies that work there. So, for example, sa DepEd, sa Marikina and Quezon City, Marikina and Quezon City will primarily be relying on physical modules, yung ano to, physical paper modules that will be distributed to students uh, once a week or once every 2 weeks, and then the students answer them at home, and then they submit them, after a certain period of time. They will have limited online capability because of two things. One, access, and second, uh, because of the number of students and teachers that have to be supplied with smart devices. It's hard for the cities to supply to all of them. Okay? So what they would need help with also would be for what they call quote unquote as para teachers who will follow up students. How will the follow up be done? One is online. Right now, for Quezon City, they're just looking at Facebook Messenger to follow up students. The other one is face to face, pero parang they will gather students, a limited number of students in different areas of the city, and then have to have the para teachers will have face to face sessions with the students there. I am not advocating for students to have face to face because it might not be safe. Baka dun sa ano lang tayo, sa online follow-ups, uh, for that, no, for that kind of assistance.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Mm.
Yes, Leland.
Maybe just to give you an idea, like what OSCE plans to do is that OSCE plans to give data load to its community so that the students can continue interacting with communities
Oh,
online. So baka it's a possibility that organizations can use some of their funds to share data
yeah.
load with their partner communities so that you can continue assisting the public school students.
Oh, very good. That's yun nga eh. Maraming ways to help. So that's one, no, data for students. The other one is the actual devices for
Mm,
students. Even some of the teachers I heard are complaining na wala rin silang load,
mm,
kahit yung
mm,
mga teachers mismo. So ano siya eh, parang depende sa area. The situation really varies per area. So one of the first things you have to do actually is, for example, if you're an organization working in Barangka and Tanyong in Marikina, what are the actual conditions there? Diba?
mm,
For the teachers and students of Barangka and Tanyong. Uh, of course, for all the orgs working in Marikina, for example, in education, we can ask the superintendent to give a briefing about Marikina as a whole. But for the particular needs of, let's say, Barangka Elementary School, we need to ask the principal about that. And we can arrange that.
Yes, sir. And marami rin naman, sir, na organizations natin are already working with some of the public schools in
That's
Marikina.
right. That's right.
For example, Ateneo Meco has been working with, for example, Kalumpang Elementary School
Oh,
for almost I think almost 10 years now. Edge also Ateneo Edge has been working with several public schools in the LGUs near Ateneo. Thank you for the points, sirs. No, may follow up question lang po tayo from the viewer kanina. Maybe we can look at the follow-up question. And sabi niya po, for an event-based project like Lights for Hope that wishes to help out in community building outside the usual Lights for Hope Day, what are things that we can keep in mind to point out to ensure the maximum effectivity of the possible initiatives.
Lights for Hope is very lucky because they're directly under me. So, patay kayo. De, yeah, pag-usapan natin because these are opportunities nga. There are a lot of opportunities for to help, and we can help beyond the one-day event that we usually have. You guys, I've seen you guys work. You guys work so hard, uh, and a lot. I think a lot more people can benefit from such hard work. So maybe we can just talk about specifics, but there are a lot of opportunities. I just like to mention kasi we specified education. Another area is ano talaga ha, helping business, helping livelihood in those areas. And ano bilib ako sa business students natin. When I was in DepEd, my core team of young people were fresh grads from our business courses. In fact, my last chief of staff was a president of a business org, uh, and she was very effective. So I think our business boards have a lot to help also in terms of their management skills and know-how, and they can help not just in education, they can help in other facets, from the systems of the local government to livelihood for small entrepreneurs in the communities. So I'd like our business students also to come on board. The other one is our students who can do some counseling, peer counseling, or activities that can help with mental health, because it is a big issue. Uh, it's a big issue among peers. It's even a big issue among uh, adults. In fact, part of the help that we will give to the three DepEd divisions would be sessions on mental health to help them prepare for the coming school year.
Sir Lino, you mentioned business students po, no, management students, and the business cluster when we're talking about the Council of
Yes.
Organizations. And the message here is that we don't just look for, or we're not only looking for mga sector-based organizations that have already been doing something with and for the communities in the LGUs, but the message here, sir, is that yung mga wala pang nahahanapan or nahahanap na areas na um, pasukin for help, pwede silang makahanap, sir, ng mga opportunities na yun.
Definitely, definitely. That's why with OSA, we said that we will do that inventory. Part of that inventory is asking the different boards, what are your competencies? What are those? So that they can be tapped and matched with areas that need them. Whatever those
All
are,
right.
uh, kahit, kahit ano, art, singing, kasama yun. Kasama yun.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Meron po ditong question po, ayan. From Sophia, hi Sir Lino, do you have tips on how to make online tutoring more effective? Ito, Sir Lino, about education ulit. You're currently teaching FinLit at Kalumpang Elementary School. So Sophia is from MECO, is having a difficulty. How can we make our online tutoring more effective and accessible for our students? I think you mentioned
Uh,
already, Sir Leland and Sir Lino, yung nga po yung sharing of data and device. May iba pa po bang
yes, yes.
paraan
But
para mapadali ito?
I think that's a good question, no? And online teaching is not my expertise. Uh, but what we can do is for all of those that will be tutoring online, for example, maybe we can arrange for a session with one of our faculty members whose expertise is that, so that they can give pointers,
Yes, sir.
on that topic. And 'di ba? Kasi yung online, yun yung sinasabi namin sa DepEd divisions, no. Kala nila yung online teaching is merely uh, making videos of what they're already doing, but it's very different. As our faculty right now is stressed. I will use that word, stressed, because they're learning that converting to online is not the same as just making a video of you teaching in the classroom. No, it's not. The principles are different. So Father Johnny Go is actually spearheading the training of our faculty to go to move online. Now, I got Father Johnny to do a program for the public schools. So that's part of our help. We're going to do a national radio program for teachers, radio and YouTube, so that public school teachers can get pointers and ask questions about teaching online. Now, for our student tutors, maybe we can have another session for them to get pointers. So, Sophia, I
Yes,
hope that
sir.
answers your question. We can arrange for a session like that.
Yes, sir. Yun nga po, nabanggitin niyo yung ginagawa na ngayon ng ating faculty with the ADL na certificate course from Ateneo Salt. Dahil mahirap nga naman na hindi siya ganun, parang hindi lang siya transposing of an on-site teaching or learning experience to the online world. No? Kaya kailangan may mga adjustments pa na uh, kailangan gawin ang ating faculty with that. Sir Lian, may additional points po ba?
Yeah, I think that aside from tutoring, aside from livelihood, another group of orgs that might be able to help, or at least I think most orgs are really good at this, will be communications. How do you communicate,
Yes.
especially things related to COVID-19 to the public? I mean, I've noticed that one of the strengths of organizations is coming up with all sorts of materials, promotional materials. So is that something that orgs can contribute, Lino?
Oh, yes, definitely. Absolutely. Key, ano ngayon, in fact, uh, we got a faculty from comms to volunteer to help with the communications of DepEd Marikina. Kasi just in education alone, you have to motivate the students to study. Uh, kung yung regular time nga na may face-to-face, hirap mag-aral yung mga estudyante, lalo na ngayon, di ba? Online. Um, uh, Motivating parents to keep their students in school, or in the business side, giving out, communicating pointers, how what to do during this pandemic. Malaking bagay yung communication. And it's true. Our orgs and our young people are more creative and certainly more competent to communicate more effectively than us old fogies. Okay? Mas magaling kayo dyan eh. Mas creative kayo. Boring kami, boring.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Nakikita rin namin yan sa OSA, no? Yung pagde-design ng student orgs, ng mga communications nila, yung mga promotional materials nila, coming up with, ano ba, parang coming up with taglines and captions. Yun, parang ano na talaga,
Oo.
yun yung ano nila talaga, forte nila ngayon yan.
Oo, tsaka
Eh,
'di ba? Halimbawa, ano lang sa education lang, maraming teachers na kicking and screaming na bakit ako babalik sa pagtuturo, or mga parents na sasabihin nila, bakit pa natin babalik sa eskwelahan ngayon, 'di ba? Ano yun kung communication, 'di ba? Motivating them, yung ganyan. Tapos yung mga nawalan ng trabaho, syempre mawawalan ng pag-asa.
Mm.
How do we keep them afloat? How can we give hope? Diba at this time?
yes,
Kasi
sir.
without hope, wala na. Diba?
And siguro sir, para naman makausap na rin natin or marinig natin yung side naman ng young people, ng ating students. Ngayon, I was supposed to call him to close the show for today, pero baka he can already chime in into the discussion. Please welcome everyone, your Sangguniang President, Mr. JB Beharin. Hi, JB.
Hello po.
Hi, JB.
Hi Sir Lilan, hi
Hi,
Sir Lino, and
JB.
hi everyone who's watching today. Actually, this discussion on parang orgs collaborating and making sure that whatever efforts Ateneo gives is already targeted to the needs of our communities has been a long discussion already eh. Parang sabi nga namin ni Sir Lino, tung COVID-19, I think catalyzed the urgency for us to collaborate further. I'm not sure what you guys saw through Sir Lino's presentation. I came from another meeting lang. Pero I think he started talking about the vision for further collaboration within the Ateneo community. Tama na it's not really about starting new projects, but it's about reframing our perspective on going with projects moving forward. Parang ngayon, may sense of hopelessness na nasisense ako at ng maraming tao. We've been doing Meet the Fam for the past 2 to 3 weeks already. And yun yung mga questions na natatanggap natin at napag-uusapan natin, di ba? Parang tuloy pa ba ang org life sa Ateneo? Or may mga members ba nasasali sa orgs in the first place? And I guess in this crossroads, parang crossroads kung magpapatuloy pa tayo or hindi, ito yung tamang opportunity para balikan yung why natin sa mga orgs natin. Why do we do the advocacies that we do? Why do we support the communities that we support? And in this time where we're presented with limitations and with difficulty, I think it's high time to reevaluate and discern really where we want to go. Kayong mga EB heads at mga members, mga org presidents, parang I'm pretty sure you didn't foresee COVID when you guys plan to run for your respective positions now eh. Pero I guess this will be the defining moment for your respective leaderships. And I guess that's what I hope we call our orgs to do. Dahil ba online na tayo, hindi ibig sabihin na makakatulong pa rin tayo sa mga communities natin. Dahil ba wala na tayong mga GA at mga on-site events, hindi natin mapagpapatuloy yung buhay ng org community sa Ateneo. So, yes, Ateneo is continuously here to support the organizations as we channel our efforts to greater aspirations for nation building. Feel free to message me or Aki or Sir Leland or VPSD Sir Lino Rivera for any questions that you may have moving forward, no? Kasi ang niluluto rin natin actually. And if you guys have any thoughts or if you're watching right now and if you have any thoughts on how we could go about this, we have a campaign talaga behind rechanneling our org efforts towards these 3 LGUs that VP Lino has mentioned. Kasi parang beyond COVID-19, this is just the beginning of what we aim for the Ateneo community, which is really, we make sure that first, yung mga binibigay ng mga orgs natin sa mga communities, it's not one way. So it's really a partnership between the community and us, or organizations. Kasi it's not only about serving them eh. It's serving with and for them. So kasama natin sila sa pag-unlad at sa pagkatuto. The second is that we make sure na targeted yung mga pinaparating nating tulong. So in that way, wala na yung mga duplications between different orgs sa binibigay sa communities. Kasi napakaraming communities. At minsan, ilang community lang yung nakakatanggap ng tulong dahil sila lang yung napupuntahan. And third and most importantly is that we further collaborate between organizations. parang ako in hindsight, I don't really mind if there are 2 to 3 organizations in one community. Then each of them caters to a specific need. For example, we can have an org like ASIL take care of catechism. Tapos an org like EDGE take care of tutoring. Tapos another org like MECO taking care of financial literacy within that community. The vision really here is to not only collaborate, not only to ensure that we work with our communities, but to ensure that these communities have growth in the long term. Yung ibang orgs natin, ang tagal-tagal na sa mga communities na pinupuntahan nila. Pero parang tayo kasi we come and go. We graduate after 4 years. But these communities that we serve and these orgs that we belong to, they live beyond us eh. So how do we ensure that pag alis natin, may impact actually dun sa community na yun, na hindi pa rin ganun ka-dire yung conditions niya. And I guess yun yung, this actually sums up what Sir Lino and Sir Leland has been mentioning this whole talk. But again, I acknowledge the difficulty of this challenge that's being presented to all of us. Yung pag-transition pa nga lang ng orgs online, napakahirap niyan. I personally resonate. Right now, in Sanggu, we're trying to deal with multiple problems moving forward. Parang hindi ko na masense kung ano talaga yung urgent sa non-urgent. Right now, may sexual harassment, tapos merong transitioning to intercession. Iba pa yung niluluto natin ngayon na orgs for the communities. It's really a lot to handle. And I know none of us are in the perfect mental condition. But I guess if we want a way forward, we should just remember the feeling of attaining our dreams. And I guess personally, as a third-year student, this is one of the dreams I'd want to see when I'd graduate, na we ensure that our orgs meet the needs of the community in their own unique ways. So again, it won't be easy. That's why, and parang people have been saying this is a good project, but then how do you ensure na orgs get to do it? It's really about managing expectations. It won't happen overnight. It would happen through a lot of meetings. But what we can ensure everyone, I guess, is that we'll be here for each other and that you don't need to do it alone. You just need to ask for help, I guess, and go beyond your respective orgs. If you want to talk about it, you can just message me on Facebook. I'm GB Beharin. Message also Sir Leland or Sir Lino via email or kung saan man. And I guess I hope this is the start of a long overdue conversation towards greater org collaboration and greater societal impact towards sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, JB. At yun nga, no? Dreaming of the communities that we engage in beyond what we can do in the 4 or 5 years of our stay, of a student's stay in the university. Yun naman talaga ang goal and the vision of the office of Sir Lino. Consolidating and strengthening yung social impact of the university. Sir Leland, would you like to add on to these points?
Yeah, just briefly, just to reinforce the point that was made by JB. I think now really presents an opportunity for organizations to link up with existing initiatives outside the university, because I think the tendency of organizations is to enter communities on their own without any kind of collaboration with different groups that already have existing initiatives. But when we link up with existing initiatives, like for example, the initiatives of the Department of Education, there's a greater chance that you will have a greater impact. And this is where Lino himself is such a great asset. He was the USEC of DepEd for 6 years, and he was in charge of regional operations. That means that he was really on the ground talking to the different heads of DepEds all over the country. So kilala niya yung mga yan. He knows how DepEd works, and he will also know how you can make very real contributions to DepEd on the ground, even in your respective communities. And he also knows the mayors personally. Si Lino knows Mayor Marcy very well. Sina Mayor Joy Belmonte and his work with Mayor Vico Soto and their people. No? So, for example, there was a question on the chat asking how can we ensure that our org's communication and pubmats for their cause reach the right intended audience. And I think Lino will ensure that it will reach the right intended audience. Diba, Lino?
Yep. Yes, sir. Oo. We'll make sure.
You wanted to
We'll
say
make
something,
sure.
Lino?
Uh, uh, Thank you, Nilan. No? Alam mo, even for us, magkakasama kami ni Nilan, ni na JB sa Dream Team. No? Uh, yung Dream Team is the Ateneo ad hoc team that does relief work pag may disasters. But even there, nung initial month siguro nitong COVID, uh, we were getting frustrated kasi yung mga systems, manner of helping that we've gone accustomed to, hindi pwede. Hindi po pwede. Paano ka magpapack ng goods sa covered courts o paano ka magpapadala ng goods sa community, di ba? Marami doon hindi pwede. Mga nakasanayan na hindi pwede. But as I was telling different groups and different people, it's true there are a lot of limitations, but let's just recognize those limitations. Let's just identify them, but let's not get fixated with them. Huwag tayong maipit doon. Pag nakita natin kung ano hindi pwede, let's ask ourselves, okay, ano yung pwede? Diba? Ano yung pwedeng gawin? And true enough, despite the limitations, maraming nagawa ang Ateneo community during the COVID. It's the same now. This is what I call as a second phase of helping under COVID. We're moving away from relief. We're moving towards more sustainable developmental programs to help empower the communities. So, kung marami tayong ginagawa dati na parang hindi pwede, okay lang yon. Sige, tanggapin natin yon. Tapos tanungin natin, ano yung pwede given the conditions, the present conditions. Dahil marami pa tayong pwedeng gawin. So, yun lang. Tapos, yun na nga, bilang mga tinista, wala sa DNA natin hindi tayo madaling matalo. Kahit sa basketball, di ba? Pagkatambak, inaasahan natin babalik yung team. Di ba? Hindi rin tayo dapat matalo dito sa COVID. Diba? Hindi tayo dapat matalo dito sa COVID. One big fight pa rin to. One big fight to, ladies and gentlemen. Now is the time to rise to the occasion. Now is the time to do magis. We don't need to do magis during easy times. Now is the time to dig deep. Ask yourself why you're doing this, why you will continue to do this, and why we will give it our one big fight.
Yes, sir. Excellent point, sir. Na kung ano man yung mga nagagawa natin dati or mga ginagawa natin dati, kung hindi na pwede yun, ang tanong ay ano ang pwede. Diba? At marami pang pwede, marami pang pwedeng magawa kahit na nandito tayo sa ganitong sitwasyon. Now, a follow-up question po from Nico again. When we're talking about collaborating we're about this big campaign of collaborating and consolidating our efforts. A specific question, should we consolidate our indebted org collaterals and pubmats into a single big campaign under a single name? Or will we still leave each org to create their own campaigns, to each their own creative direction? Sino po pwedeng sumagot dito? Kumbaga, yung campaign ba ay isang malakihan tapos isang campaign lang? Oh, JP, ayan, ikaw na nagtaas na campaign. Or si Sir Lino.
Lino.
Ah, sige. Meron ng initial idea si JB kaya tinuturo ko si
So,
JB.
i-pitch ko na.
Pero ano siguro ang usapan rin namin ni JB parang baka we can form a group or a committee where people can strategize and give out ideas. Uh, Kasi there could be a big generic campaign for everyone, but you
Yeah.
can have a campaign directed per stakeholder or per sector, 'di ba? Kasi maraming stakeholders in a certain community. For example, merong parents, merong students or whatever, 'di ba? Merong entrepreneur. So baka meron tayong general communication strategy and general campaign, pero meron din specific. Uh, so we need to come together. We need to form that and then strategize. We also said that we will consult UMCO. Our UMCO head is our marketing and communications head for the university is Miss Matek Villanueva. So before joining Ateneo and before retiring, Matek was president of a big advertising or communications agency. So her inputs can help a lot. So yun. JB,
Yes, sir.
idagdag. JB.
Ayun, sir. Actually, si Nico, in-add ko na sa Facebook nung nakita ko yung question niya. Pag-usapan na natin through Messenger, Nico. Pero ang plan is, yun nga, parang sabi ni Sir Lino, what we need to communicate kasi is, I think two simple things lang eh. One, how can the orgs help during this time? And the second is, which communities will they be will be needing their help? So parang like what I've been saying, targeting talaga yung kailangan natin gawin ngayon. Ano yung existing orgs natin at ano yung may bibigay nila. Tapos ano yung kailangan ng mga communities para mapagtagpo. I think that would be the goal of any communication strategy we'll be coming up with. Ang plan right now is to informally seek for suggestions from different people and then to just brainstorm first. Then we can come up with a more solid pitch. Definitely, in the long term, pwede na tayong we could go to the specific sectors na. So for example, gaya nga ng sabi ni Sir Lino, ito education, ito yung ginagawa ng orgs with Ateneo. Ito public health, ito yung communications. So tumutulong tayo sa gobyerno para mapaganda naman yung PubMat na pinapakalat nila. Para bang ganon? Pero parang ang aim really is to parang hype things up through a single big campaign. That's the plan right now. It's a dream, but then hopefully we get to pitch it. So yung natasan ako ni Sir Lino last meeting namin na mag-brainstorm na sa student side para moving forward, pag i-pitch na sa university, mabilis na lang. Parang, kasi ang stakeholders with the comms campaign, dalawang klase yan eh. One is students. So, syempre, ang hanap dyan is aesthetic and clarity. Second, sa alumni and faculty. So, iba yung hinahanap na aesthetic naman sa ganyang campaign. So, yun yung try nating i-come up with. I'm already in talks with Aki, who's our COA president, with Tina, who's our Lions coordinator, even with our sector reps, no, from ARSA, from sports clubs, and from Gabay, from our scholars sector. So we'll definitely be needing more input in solidifying a campaign behind it, and we hope to get your help. So please message your respective coordinators if you'd be interested to help, no? Kahit gumawa na tayo ng group chat ngayong gabi, game lang. And we can start meeting moving forward, no? But yun nga, let's manage our expectations. It won't be easy. Kahit sabihin natin na ito yung communities, ito yung orgs, syempre kailangan pa rin gumawa ng module para mag-tutoring, di ba? Like what Sir Lino said, it's not really about taking videos of yourself lecturing eh. There's a principle behind it that would let you convey the same advocacy but on another platform. So let's take it step by step. And the first step really is to come together and to ask for help beyond your org.
Yes,
Boboto ko
sir.
si
Yes.
JV pag ako senador.
Malapit na, sir, baka.
Oo. Pero si Leland, ano yan eh, department secretary dapat yan.
Basta ikaw,
Ayun,
President.
DOH.
Sir Dylan, you wanted to say something po?
Yeah, jumping off from what JB ended with the modules, it's another area where you can really help. Some of you have communities that you're engaged with, but some of you don't. But the home orgs can really help the
Yeah.
public school teachers come up with modules. Alam mo, laking sakit ng ulo yan ng mga public school teachers coming up with the different modules that they can roll out to their students, kahit supplementary materials. And like for example, the school year will start when August. Maybe that's too soon, but maybe can look ahead, no? Parang second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter materials. You can come up with actually assisting the public school divisions to come up with modules or supplementary materials for the teachers and for the students. So you can think in terms of box, for example, or the Ateneo Math Society. Yan, kailangan yan. They need the materials even if you're not into direct tutoring.
Yeah, no nga. Yun ang sinasabi natin, sir, na ang dami pang pwedeng magawa ng ating organizations. Kung hindi nyo paalam siguro or baka hindi lang kayo sigurado kung ano pa yung mga pwede ninyong maitulong, kaya nga nandito ang office ni Sir Lino para tulungan tayo na hanapan no, yung ating organizations ng tamang department siguro, tamang office, sa mga partner LGUs ng opisina para naman ma-channel natin yung energies natin and efforts of our organizations towards helping beyond our university. All right. Final thoughts po. Final thoughts, final messages to all our student leaders and to all our organizations for this afternoon. I'll go ahead and start with the Sangguniang President, JD Karim. Final thoughts, final messages.
Reminder lang siguro rin sa mga, kasi students din tayo, yung enlistment, bukas na ata. So, baka nakakalimutan po ng lahat. Ayun, bukas sa June 30 and July 1 if I'm not mistaken. So, ayun, maybe home orgs and different organizations can also parang remind their members about it. The second really is, as we go into intersession and into first sem, yung takot ko talaga is hindi natin masustain kung ano man yung pangarap natin para sa communities and orgs natin moving forward. We don't really know how an online or an off-site SEM works. Parang this is the first time all of us are going through it. That's why, yes, there will be anxieties and there will be fears. There will be doubts also. But then, really, if you just ask for help and try to seek out others, parang that's a big first step ahead. So, kapaan lang tayo and parang pagtataya talaga to yung ginagawa natin ngayon. It's uncertain, but definitely if we take a courageous step forward, malaki yung magagawa nun. Marami tayong matutulungan, lalo na ngayong COVID at panahon ng pandemic. So, yeah. Feel free to message lang. We'll be ready to answer.
Yan. Maraming uncertainties, nakakatakot, pero working with other people, feeling that feeling of not being alone, gives you that bit much of courage that perhaps some of us just need to move along. Final message and final thoughts, Sir Lino.
Well, just to echo what JB said, we're all in this together. You're not alone. If you feel depressed or low or sometimes helpless with regards to this pandemic, first I'd like to assure you that's normal. But second, don't stay there. And one way of moving out of the rut is by helping others. When we do help others, we're actually uh, helping ourselves as well. Uh, for students, for you who were students, helping others is a way to apply what you've learned in the classroom. And second, you'll be surprised, but the communities and the people will help will actually teach us a lot about ourselves. No? And years from now, like kami ni na Leland, no? Years after graduating and working, you go back to this, you go back to these uh, events in your life that molded you to how you are years after. So again, a, a pitch to come together, help one another, help others. Yun lang. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Lino. And if they want to contact your office, they can just send an email to, is this correct,
Yes,
sir? VPSD at ateneo.edu.
yes.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
I don't know if for students if my email appears, but yeah, they can email me directly either to the OVPSD or the RD Rivera at ateneo.edu.
All right, sir. RD Rivera at ateneo.edu. And thank you very much, Sir Lino. Thank you, and also say thank you for your presentation earlier. And final messages, final thoughts from Sir Leland.
Siguro dalawang bagay para sa inyo. Una, bilang estudyante, as we're about to start intersession, it's a brave new world for all of us, even for the faculty. Okay, your faculty are really working to put together modules for intersession and the first semester. I guess my message in that regard is let's help each other, right? Help your faculty members. You are more digital natives than the faculty. You
True.
might have suggestions on how to make things better, right? You're more comfortable in the online environment than we are. So rather than maybe criticizing, maybe let's just help each other with this entire thing. It's like what we're trying to do now, and that's my second message as org presidents. Again, let's help each other with this new environment. Let's help each other. Let's help our communities. And I just like to reiterate the point I made earlier that let's plug into existing initiatives outside. So let's not get into our communities alone, but rather let's help DepEd in the three cities. Let's help the LGUs. And in this regard, Lino is very important because he has all the networks, all the necessary networks with all of those entities. So I think all orgs want to make an impact. And this situation actually provides us with an opportunity, forces us, in fact, to connect with the entities outside, which may result into greater impact for your organization. So there are opportunities presented by the situation. Um, let's jump into it and learn from the experience and try to make as much of a difference as we can. Sige. So salamat and stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sir Leland. No, let's try to make the most impact, no, and difference as we can, no, and we can do this alone. We can do this on our own, pero it will be a lot easier, and it will be uh, para it will reach a wider audience if we do it together. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat, JB, for joining us. Thank you, Sir Leland, for joining us once
Salamat.
again for this second episode that you're here with us. And thank you to Mr. Lino Rivera, our Vice President for Social Development. Salamat po, sir. At expect nyo na po yung mga email mula sa ating student
Sure.
organization.
Thank you. Salamat sa lahat.
Ayan.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat po. And
Salamat
a
din.
special thank you to Miss Michelle De Guzman. She is the assistant to the BPSD for monitoring, evaluation, and research for coordinating this afternoon with OVPSD. Ayan. Again, if you have questions, suggestions, or thoughts that you would like to bring up to the office for Vice President for Social Development, you may email at these email addresses below. And also, para naman po sa amin, again, we remind you of our evaluation form at osantfportal.questionpro.com. And yun nga po, ulitin ko na po sa mga nag-abang sa LeadX kanina umaga, wala po kami kanina, baka inabangan ninyo. But tune in lang every Monday at 9 a.m. on our Facebook page and also the Facebook page of Radio Katipunan for LeadX every Monday po yan. And Meet the Fam will be back. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng mga nanood at sumama sa amin ngayong hapong ito. On behalf of Sir Leland, on behalf of Sir Lino Rivera of JV, of the entire Office of Student Activities, to our Director, Sir Tasky Black, I am Lee Reyes saying good afternoon, happy Monday, happy week ahead, student leaders, and we'll see you on the next Meet the Fam.